Surviving in the wild can be tough, and one of its major challenges is dealing with attacks from predators. Before we venture out into nature, we first have to learn about the potential dangers of any predators in the area and how to protect ourselves from them. And this applies to all animals. Most animal translocations or reintroductions are unsuccessful, largely due to predation. And animals have to undergo training programs to learn about different predators before being released into natural environments. Animals born in these environments learn from their parents and elders about different predators. Information about how to avoid predators or fend them off is culturally transmitted through social learning. Socially acquired predator avoidance is a taxonomically widespread phenomenon that has been found in fish, birds, eutherians, and marsupials. The pattern of acquisition is similar across groups. Before learning, subjects show little or no response to a given stimulus. After that stimulus has been presented together with an alarm signal, however, it evokes an avoidance response. Young animals have to learn about the dangers of specific environments. They have to learn who or what to fear because predation risk is dynamic and circumstantial. For instance, in circumstances where ducks, chickens, or goats are raised with dogs, they learn that the dogs are allies and even protectors. But in other circumstances, dogs may be predators for these animals. In some circumstances, humans can be a threat. In other circumstances, they may be harmless or helpful. Animals learn to tell the difference. Northern mockingbirds avoid people who have previously threatened them, while magpies mob them. And Gunnison's prairie dogs issue specific alarm calls in response to specific people. Pigeons will avoid a threatening person even if they swap clothes with a kindlier soul. Animals from birds and squirrels to deer and elephants recognize and remember individuals who are friendly or threatening, and send warnings to others accordingly. Humans are among the very few animals that constitute a threat to elephants. Elephants use sight and scent and the sound of voices to distinguish between ethnic groups that have a history of attacking them and groups that do not. Jackdaws can learn from each other to identify dangerous humans. Crows pass on their knowledge of dangerous humans to their peers and offspring. Cultural transmission of predator recognition is a widespread means of learning in social animals. In a demonstration of cultural transmission, a starling first developed an avoidance response, alarm calling, to an arbitrary object like a plastic bottle, and then in turn became the model for the next learner. Such aversive responses were transmitted along a chain of 6 individuals, simulating cultural generations. Jackdaw fledglings learn to recognize enemies from the adults of their flock. When a predator appears, experienced individuals emit a call that young learn to associate with the predator to avoid. Gazelle, zebra, and wildebeest transmit to their young information concerning the flight distance to be maintained with respect to various predators. And Japanese macaques teach avoidance behavior of novel objects. Predator recognition requires social learning because predation risk can vary in space and time. Environmental change can expose animals to previously unfamiliar predators. And learning allows novel dangers to be recognized. Animals have to learn about a variety of different predators on the ground, in the sea, or sky. And learning can be complex. For instance, some killer whales prey on fish, while others prey on seals. Harbor seals can learn to recognize killer whales that prey on seals by listening to their underwater calls. They will flee from the calls of transient killer whales, but ignore the calls of local killer whales that eat fish. Animals don't just have to learn who their different predators are, but also how to respond to them. There is now abundant evidence that learning plays an important role, both in the acquisition of anti-predator responses and in the adjustment of pre-existing ones. Knowledge can be gathered from each encounter, learned from, and socially transmitted. And animal cognition and culture mediate the outcomes of predator-prey interactions. Animals learn from encounters, and the closer the encounter, the more vigilant they become. Victims of predator attacks often suffer post-traumatic stress disorder with symptoms such as hypervigilance, anxiety, and paranoia. Social learning about predators and how to avoid them has now been proven in birds, fish, and mammals. Predator training is a vital part of these animals' education. Training includes learning from watching the fear responses of others. Juvenile monkeys fear snakes after watching a social companion respond fearfully to a snake. In wallabies, naive observers given the opportunity to watch trained demonstrators respond fearfully to a fox watched the predator significantly more after training than did control observers who had watched demonstrators respond to the fox indifferently. Training also includes learning alarm calls. Animals learn different alarm calls for different predators and how to warn others. We found monkeys have different kinds of alarm calls for different predators. Now it's been shown in a wide range of species, including chickens, which use different vocalizations to distinguish between aerial and ground predators, and in Japanese tits, which have different calls for crow and snake. Training includes learning to be cautious and how to keep watch. It includes learning survival behaviors, such as avoiding, hiding, fleeing, stomping, alerting others, and creating safety in numbers. Animals learn how to guard and defend their young by forming defensive formations together. They learn to coordinate group defense tactics, such as mobbing. Mobbing is a compound social stimulus that incorporates both visual, tail and wing flicks in predator-directed dives, and acoustic, alarm calls, signals in response to predators. Studies show that mobbing is learned by watching others. Blackbirds learn to mob a species of bird to which they are initially indifferent, once they have seen a conspecific appear to mob it. Enemy recognition could be culturally transmitted along a chain of at least 6 individuals. Research programs have shown consistently that birds acquire fear responses to model vertebrates, both predatory and non-predatory. Socially acquired predator avoidance is widespread, and acquired predator awareness can propagate through a population. This awareness shapes the way animals live and the environments they choose to live in. In examining white-tailed deer behavior in response to temporal variation in predation risk imposed by recreational hunters, findings demonstrated the acute awareness of a large ungulate to temporal changes in predation risk and provided insight into ways they respond to reduce the likelihood of predatory encounters. Deer may switch to habitats with more cover and fewer food sources to increase their chances of survival. For example, male red deer may switch to safer habitats with more concealing cover at the beginning of hunting season. Mothers will find new and safer environments to raise their young after they become aware of new predators in their environment. Free-living mother moose behave more cautiously in response to wolf howls once they have lost an offspring to this predator. In Alaska, female moose that had experienced calf predation responded by moving nearly 5 miles to give birth the next year. These examples show that animals have the capacity to learn when a predator is introduced. When a group of elk encountered a wolf for the first time in 1998, about a year after wolves were reintroduced to Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, the wolf was able to walk right up to them. The unfortunate animals had thought the wolf was a large coyote, which were common in the area and not a threat to adult elk. But then, after a time, the behavior of elk totally changed. They were learning what was dangerous and what was not. There is much to learn about the other species animals share their environment with. Who is a threat? Who is harmless? Who is an ally? And who shares the same predators? Neighborhood watch crosses the species. Many animals form mixed species groups, and the thought is that this is an anti-predator behavior. There is safety in numbers, and there is a benefit to surrounding yourself with a more diverse set of eyes and ears. Animals learn the alarm calls of multiple species. Robins warn other robins, but when their alarm goes out, every bird within hearing dashes for cover.